Welcome, guys. This is Carl Reed, college football analyst with 24/7 Sports. I am here with the head football coach of the University of Oregon, Dan Lanning. Coach, how you doing?
Doing great, Carl, man. Good to see you, brother.
So this has been a whirlwind of sorts for you. I can remember we were talking on the phone right before the SEC championship game, and the Georgia defense was playing unbelievable football. You're shutting everybody out, completely dominant. And I told you on that call, I said, man, you got to be trending now towards being a head coach. And you said, right now, the only thing I'm focused on is winning the national championship. Like that was the goal. And so you guys lose to Bama, but then over the course of the next couple of weeks, you get in the playoffs, you go back and you beat Bama in the national championship, and during that time, you're named the head coach at Oregon. Kind of what was those 2 or 3 weeks like, man, and what kind of whirlwind was it for you?
Yeah, man, it was wild. Obviously, a incredible blessing, but I think you said it. You kind of focus, be where your feet are at. I know everybody always says that, but my opportunity came here, obviously, because of the job our players and our coaching staff did there at Georgia at the end, and it worked out for me. But it was a lot of fun. Wouldn't go back and script it any different.
Now, when you how tough is it being the head coach at Oregon and the defensive coordinator at Georgia at the same time, dealing with recruiting, dealing with prepping for the game? Like, give everybody kind of an idea of this kind of schedule you have to maintain during a transition like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's tough. You start every morning off wearing your defensive coordinator hat. At Georgia, we would go, and every day was a little bit different, but we go till about 7, 8:30 at night for Georgia, and then I take that hat off. During lunch, you might be making some recruiting phone calls, calling current players and coaches, and then that night you switch it up and you become the head coach at Oregon. Put that hat on, and there were nights that it would be till 3 a.m., 2 a.m. trying to get stuff accomplished on the West Coast. But the fact that they were a few hours behind us or 3 hours behind us, certainly helped.
Speaking of that West Coast and then being 3 hours behind, it seemed like for about a week, the Oregon fan base had this Twitter Spaces thing going on, and it's like growing to a phenomenon. To like it was thousands and thousands of people. I think your brother was in there, the athletic director was in there. How have you been received at Oregon, and how fanatic is that fan base up there about the Oregon Ducks?
The fans love Oregon, as they should. And, it's fun. People tell you that the environment that exists in the SEC doesn't exist outside in college football. It certainly exists in Oregon. Our fans are extremely passionate. We're a long ways away from game one, and these guys eat it up. They're infatuated with the Ducks, which I absolutely love. And certainly they've created some excitement about the program.
When you talk about how much people care about the University of Oregon up there, people want to know about the quarterback battle that you're going to have going in the spring. You got a couple of talented guys. What are you looking for the guy that separates himself and gives him an opportunity to lead your program week one?
Yeah, I think you want to see how they operate with the rest, the 10 other guys that are around them, right? Make sure that those guys playing around them play with a high level of confidence. Obviously, we want to score points. The coach in me, the defensive coach in me wants to see those guys take care of the ball because I know how much that equates to wins and losses. But we want to push it down the field. Really excited to see him go to work and operate and see who, takes that next step into being the guy.
Being in the SEC for as long as you have been and the success that you've had there, in recruiting, how important is securing the West? And by you being a guy who's been predominantly in the South and recruiting in the South, how important is it to secure the West? And do you have the relationships to be successful on the West Coast? And have you put a staff in place that continues to develop those relationships and pour those kind of players that you're going to need at Oregon?
Yeah, I mean, charity always starts at home. You want to take care of home first. And we have great players out here on the West Coast. That's something that we want to continue to be able to attack, and I think us being out here, we're going to have a presence, on the West Coast, but also nationally. So we'll certainly tap in on relationships. I have some experience on the West Coast with some individual players that I've recruited in my time at Arizona State as well. But our staff has a lot of experience on the West Coast. And, I'm a big believer that relationships just require time. So anybody I don't know out here, I think we'll be able to connect with quickly. And I know our coaching staff's well connected.
One of the great things that you've done over the course of your years build relationships. You've also worked with some really marvelous coaches, being a GA at Bama, during your time at Georgia. I know Mel Tucker was also there for a little bit while you were working with Kirby Smart. What's some of the things that you take from some of the mentors that you've had and guys like Coach Saban and Coach Smart and Coach Tucker, and that you're going to use to implement at the University of Oregon?
Yeah, I think all those guys you just mentioned were lifelong learners. I think that's a big piece of it. Never felt like they had all the answers, willing to adapt and adjust as the game changes. Like Mel is a guy that I consider a true mentor that I still lean on, to this day. But I think also all the guys you mentioned were able to foresee problems maybe before they arose, anticipatory skills, where they could see something coming and be able to adjust on the fly. We spend a lot of time this past year talking through different scenarios that could occur in the game, and sometimes they happen, sometimes they don't. But I thought, Coach Saban, Coach Smart, Coach Norvell, Coach Tucker, those guys all did a great job of seeing big picture as, stuff came down the wire and not being surprised.
Now, one of the things you mentioned earlier is the fan base in the SEC, and a lot of people don't think that it's great fan bases outside of the SEC. It seems like the Pac-12 has committed to having elite programs. Oregon brings you in. Obviously, there was another hire at USC. How epic do you anticipate those rivals being on the Pac-12? We saw what Ty said yesterday about the coach at USC coming up a little bit short when they played Bama in the national championship. How great are those rivalries going to be on the West Coast?
Yeah, I'm just excited about the brand of football that we're going to get to play out here. There's going to be some great rivalries, and ultimately, isn't that what made college football great? That's why we all enjoy it so much. The fact that it can be a grandma sitting in her house, jumping up and down off the couch. She might be 1,000 miles away, but it means that much to her. That's what I think makes college football great, is how much love and care for the team and the sport exists. So I'm definitely thrilled that exists in the Pac.
A lot of talk recently about NILs, how it's affecting recruiting. Some people calling for regulations. Some people taking advantage of the situation. What is your take on NILs and how it's feel about recruiting? I know Lane Kiffin said the other day that certain schools should probably have a luxury tax on recruiting. That kind of took a place of its own. Jimbo jumped up to defend himself yesterday. It got real squirrely the last 48 hours talking about NIL. Kind of what's your take and how that's changed the game here recently in recruiting?
I think I'm excited that our players have the opportunity to actually make some money off their name, image, and likeness. I think that's something that's obviously been earned. I think the way that this operates, no one really knows, though, from a regulation standpoint, what it's going to look like. And college football, I think Coach Smart said it before, it's about to become the haves and the have-nots. And, luckily, we're in a place that has great support for our program, a fan base that cares, and a lot of, businessmen and businesswomen that realize there's an opportunity behind athletes at our place. I think Kayvon Thibodeau was a great example of that this past season for us at Oregon, and being able to build off of his brand and his name. What it goes, forward, what it looks like, I don't know. It certainly, could probably use some cleanup, but that's probably someone else's job outside of me.
If I'm one of the top recruits in the country, everybody's calling me. I can go anywhere. Why Oregon?
Well, at the end of the day, Carl, you know me, right? At the end of the day, you know me. And this isn't our first conversation. It ain't going to be our last conversation, right? We built this connection for many years, much time. And you know that if I'm talking to you, that you're important, right? Because I don't spend my time on guys I'm not interested in. That being said, every one of your goals you can achieve here at the University of Oregon. We have unbelievable support. We have a brand behind us that obviously means a lot. And some people deep in that brand, they care deeply about the success at the University of Oregon, right? That being said, you don't have to sacrifice education, right? We're the elite of the elite. You can achieve at a high level academically, and that turns into real, true professional experience because of something we have called the network that supports our student athletes. And then all that on top of the fact that we're going to compete for championships as we've done here in the past. But if we do what we're supposed to do, we're going to be able to win at the highest level, not just on the field, but off the field. Let go.
All right, there you go. Oregon Duck fans, this is what you have to look forward to out of your head football coach. Coach, I want to thank you for taking the time to come on. We really appreciate it.
Appreciate you, Carl, man.